The Falcons are looking for a big statement win in week 3 on the road against the Carolina Panthers. And if they pull it off, does that elevate them to playoff contender status?
You are Locked On Falcons, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of the Locked On Falcons podcast, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the FanDuel app. Now, if you do not know me, I'm your humble host, Aaron Freeman, aka Mr. AKA, and I've been covering the Atlanta Falcons for almost 2 decades, formerly at falcfans.com, RIP. Still going strong on this illustrious podcast, and I thank each and every one of you that go strong with me as everydayers. That means you make this podcast your first listen each and every day, and all you got to do to become an everydayer is subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcast. So today we are joined by none other than Jarvis Davis of Locked On Sports Atlanta to give this weekly wrap up, get you guys prepped for this weekend's Sunday week 3 action between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers, the I-85 rivalry. And we'll see what this Falcon team can do going up I-85, whether this is the breakout game for the Falcons passing game. How does this offensive line handle Derek Brown? And if this, front is going to be able to make up the difference for AJ Terrell's absence. And that's where we'll start today's conversation, Jarvis, with the expectation that Falcons top cornerback AJ Terrell is going to be sidelined. I think you and I both agree, and we expressed this on the Falcons Squad show earlier on Thursday, that, this game is really about the Falcons defensive front. And, we're in a very special time, Jarvis, where we can actually have confidence in the Falcons defensive front based off of how they've played the first 2 games. But, when you look at this specific matchup against Carolina, is there one particular player that you think has a great opportunity to emerge this week? Is there a player that you would like to see sort of emerge as maybe ahead of the rest of the group? Or is it just about the entire unit and the quote-unquote waves of pass rushers that the Falcons are going to be able to throw at Bryce Young on Sunday?
I think this is a game lining up perfectly for your boy, Arnie Ebiketie, to have a breakout game. Because here's the thing, man, and John Abraham talked about this on the show that I was on a couple weeks ago here locally, and he talked about how he doesn't really like the whole rotation in and out, like the hockey line changes type situation. Because, he's old school,
Of course, he doesn't like that.
I'm not coming out, sir.
Yeah,
y'all go sub on the other side of the field. Like,
Yes.
y'all figure that out over there. I'm good. I'm about to work this doggo tackle. I'm setting up some stuff over here. So y'all mind your business over there. So I kind of understand that. So, of course, if James Pierce Jr., I don't think he's going to not play. But if he's slowed in any form or fashion, I feel like this is one of those games where Arnie Ebiketie can come out on top and say, hey, man, I'm still here. I'm in a contract year as well. So I think he's lining up perfectly for him to be able to take advantage of that Carolina Panthers offensive line, who allowed sacks to Calais Campbell, who's 50 years old, still playing in the league.
Yes. 100 years old and still doing it.
Yes.
And Calais Campbell's ability to kind of line up all over the place and wreak havoc, as Baker Mayfield called him, as Gigantor out there. We saw that last week in the Panthers loss to the Cardinals. And you look at this specific matchup against Carolina, they're down 2 starters on the interior. Their starting center Austin Corbett injured, and he'll be replaced by Cade Mays. Their starting right guard Robert Hunt injured, and he'll be replaced by Chandler Zavala. So, Jarvis, I kind of look at this game as a golden opportunity for one of these D tackles to really sort of emerge. It's seemingly been Brandon Dorless through the first 2 games. I'm curious, whether it's Dorless, whether it's Rukaroro, David Onyemata, LaCale London, Zach Harrison. Is there a D tackle that you're looking at? Okay, can one of these guys kind of emerge as maybe not quite the alpha, but maybe the guy that you can trust in these situations where you have a potential advantageous matchup like the Falcons should have against this interior Panthers offensive line as one guy that you can trust to sort of emerge as that go-to pass rusher?
I mean, so I'm gonna split it up into two forms, right? I'm gonna do run game, and then I'm gonna do rushing the passer. So in the run game, I feel like that can be David Onyemata. I love what I saw from him last week. I'm just talking about that man was there. Like that first year, David Onyemata, like, you know, that's what I saw from him. I feel like he was the guy that just continued to pop. I'm just strong in the run game. So I feel like David Onyemata has the opportunity to cause some havoc up front with those guys being out. And as far as in the pass rush game, man, give me more Zach Harrison, man. I love what I'm seeing from him. He's one of those cats that's just, he can be a Calais Campbell type guy, right? You know, because I feel like now he's in the right system. He's being used correctly, and he's getting those necessary snaps that he needs. And because we always talked about not Calais Campbell, but Zach Harrison, and seemingly every year that he's been an Atlanta Falcon, he always comes on towards the end of the year, meaning he's kind of get comfortable. He's had to change his body a couple times, you know, with the system changes and the different defensive coordinators and different schemes and philosophies and all that stuff, man. Because the James Lake, you know, philosophy is gone. I don't know why I feel like I had to say his name.
Yeah, I know. I was
name in there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to bring his name up to make my point. But what I'm saying is, I feel like he can take advantage of those guards because he's so long. He has that length. And, you know, pause. And he can be the guy that can take advantage of that backup guard, or, you know, in a particular situation where he might end up with the center in the double team situation, possibly. But I think mostly he'll be able to line up over the guard and take advantage. So yeah, I got D.O. in the run game, and I got Zach Harrison, a guy that I feel like can really take advantage of one of those lower level guards that the Panthers have.
Yeah. And, you know, I think this is a statement sort of game for this, you know, across the board, I think, and we'll talk more about that as we talk about the run game and the passing game on offense. But like, this is a real good opportunity that this pass rush can prove going up against a, you know, lesser offensive line with some of the issues that the Panthers are dealing with, similar to what they've dealt with the first two games against Tampa Bay in Minnesota, and continue to show we can take advantage of opposing teams' weaknesses and exploit those weaknesses. And that will take a lot of pressure off of this secondary that I think will sorely miss AJ Terrell for however long he's out. And so we'll see if, you know, Nate Ollie can get the boys ready to go. I think they will this weekend and wreak the havoc on Bryce Young that they unfortunately were not able to wreak when that other guy was calling the defense last year. But let's flip the script, Jarvis, and talk about this offense, the battle in the trenches for the offensive line, because there's a guy in Carolina that was not there last year that has given this offensive line lots and lots of problems over the years. Yes. And is this the week in the season where the Falcons can overcome the Derek Brown sized problem that exists up I-85? And we'll get into all of that as we continue today's Locked On Falcons. It is almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on the Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more time every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson delivered in a big way with a big rushing day performance. And when the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And you saw it right off the jump on the first two plays of last week's win against Minnesota. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that this performance was no fluke. Bijan Robinson is on a streak. And just like Bijan delivered for Atlanta, DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday. You order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep your streak alive. Fill your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready with this can't miss offer, because right now new customers can bet just $5. And if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the FanDuel app. And there's so many different ways that you could win with FanDuel, whether you're betting this Falcons-Panthers game straight up with the Falcons being favored by 5.5 points, or if you feel like Bijan Robinson or somebody else is going to deliver on Sunday, then make sure you go check out their player props. And if you feel like various players or various events could happen in this upcoming game, that is the time for you to put in a same game parlay where you bet a little and you win a lot. So make sure you are ready for this action by downloading the FanDuel app right now, heading on over to FanDuel.com. And again, if you place your first $5 bet, if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets only at FanDuel.com. So here with Jarvis Davis of Locked On Sports Atlanta, talking, of course, about the battle in the trenches. We just talked about the defensive line for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's talk about the Falcons' offensive line. And Jarvis, I'm curious if seeing the success, right, the rebound performance after a very underwhelming week one for this Falcons offensive line, the rebound that they had in week two, dominating that game in the trenches against the Minnesota Vikings to the tune of 218 yards rushing. Is that type of the performance that you wanted to see in order to give you the confidence that the team can handle the Derek Brown sized problem in that Panthers defensive line? Because we know, we talked about this going into the week one game, Vita Vea has been a thorn in the side of this offensive line for years to come. He showed that he still is a thorn in the side in that week one game. Derek Brown has been sort of the other guy that has been a thorn in the side of this this offensive line for many, many years. And do you feel like the Falcons can kind of exercise those demons based off of what you saw last week?
Oh, no doubt. Like, if they play like they did last week, I feel like, now granted, Derek Brown is going to make plays. You're not going to stop him from making plays. But if they play like they did last week, you're gonna be able to take advantage of that front as a whole, because guess who's not there anymore? He wasn't there last year either, and you saw the difference. Mr. Burns. So it was Mr. Burns and Mr. Brown. I would respectfully call those guys by their last names, because that's how they handled the Falcons offensive line. So I think that with Mr. Burns not being there, and Derek Brown, Mr. Brown being one of those guys that you have to focus in on, or you could just run away from. That could be perfect. Have that dude running sideline, outside zone, sideline to sideline. Oh yeah, you want to make all these tackles? What do you have? Double-digit tackles twice against the Falcons last time they played in 2023. So yeah, I'm all for him making those type of tackles. If it's a point where he's running down guys, make tackles, I feel like the Falcons can definitely take advantage. Because one of the things that I really like from last week is the fact that the Falcons made it very clear that the foundation of their offense, the reason why they're going to make it to the playoffs, is going to be because of this run game. Regardless of losing a guy like Kaleb McGarry, I get it. I understand. One of the elite run blockers on this offensive line. Yeah, that hurts. We've seen that. We felt that loss, especially in the Tampa Bay game. But that's one of the things that you have to be able to establish yourself as. I don't want Michael Penix to have to carry this offense this early in his career. I know he can. He's taking care of the football. And you have to really worry about that. Knock on wood. So I don't want to have to mess with that. I would prefer they hand the ball off to 7, give me some of that blue magic, get it to him out of the backfields, and have Derek Brown running like a madman with his head cut off, trying to chase down Bijan Robinson, or instead of you running right at him and he's doggone swimming and get in the background field, and you have to do 7 jukes as soon as he got the football. Now, I don't want to see that. I wanted them to have 95 running east and west all game, because that's how you're going to beat a guy like that, of that caliber. Get him tired, lean on him, and then in the fourth quarter, when Bijan has done what he's done, let 25 come on in there and go and finish this bad boy off and start pounding. Then you start running at him after he's been on the field for like 45, 50 snaps. So that's how you handle that. And I feel like if they're able to do that, the Falcons will be in good shape for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, to me, the challenge for this offensive line, and again, you saw it in week one, and we've seen it continuously. When they face one of these premier D linemen like a Derek Brown, they always seem to get that guy shows you why he's one of the best in the league,
Sure.
right? And like they're gonna get theirs, as you say, Jarvis. But like it's just too many times where like I was looking at some of the clips that were floating on Twitter a couple of years ago from that 23 season where he's just like tossing Chris Lindstrom all over the place. And there's just not too many people that are just like, doing like karate moves and judo moves on Chris Lindstrom like that.
Yes, man.
And it's like, I want those things to go away. Like I want the Falcons to be able to, again, like, as you said, you're not going to stop him, but contain him. And I think you're right in terms of running away from him, trying to get this outside zone run scheme going, I think will be a big part of that. And I'm very curious to see if, they can, it's like you had the week one struggles, you had the week two dominance. Is what we can expect on a week to week basis, where on those two ends is it going to be somewhere in the middle? Is it going to be, that's kind of what I think this game really has an opportunity to kind of show us, sort of what can we expect pretty consistently throughout this season from this offensive line and this run game.
Yeah, I think it's about flow, right? It's depending on how the game goes. If you're talking about the Falcons get off to a good start, the Panthers start loading up on the run game, which is not a crazy notion, given how they ran the football last week against the Vikings. If Giro Vero start bringing 8 in the box and, they start, loading up on bringing those safeties down like that, I know for a fact that Zach Robinson should, implement some of that good old PA, baby, that play action. And then take shots down the field and be able to take advantage of that. Because if you got Drake London one-on-one or Darnell Mooney one-on-one, which is a big possibility, like, yeah, you want to give your guys the opportunity to make plays. So, because, like what Minnesota did last week, like they basically dared them to run, essentially, and not knowing what they want to do. Like they want to run the football. Like I understand Michael Penny's got an arm, and you want to be able to take advantage of that, sure. But, man, you got somebody that's super special back in that backfield that if you get him to rock and you give him just a little slither of a hole, the man going to find that bad boy, and he going to make something happen. So yeah, I think we're talking about that check down out of the backfield for 40, 50 yards, and then you start seeing those guys pop a couple runs here and there, I feel like this game can get potentially get loose, and it can work out in the Falcons' favor because, like, the Arizona Cardinals jumped out on the Panthers quick. They made it close, but it was no cigar, like, because they were like, hey, man, they put them in a situation where they had to pass the ball, but Arizona couldn't. Basically, the defense couldn't close it out, but they end up eventually doing that. But when you talk about how that game went, like, I feel like if the Falcons get in that situation where they jump out 14-0 or 20-0 or 20-3 in that first half, man, it's gonna be fun in that second half. I feel like, because I feel like the Falcons got the guys to close this bad boy out.
Yeah. I thought it was fascinating because we look at the dominance of the Falcons run game in that game, and you talked about how the Vikings were kind of daring them to run. And you bring up the former Falcons defensive coordinator. In a lot of ways, the Vikings were like, we're going to play bend but don't break defense, right? Because the Falcons ran the ball up and down the field between the 20s, and then when they got in the 20s, things kind of stalled out. Now, fortunately for the Falcons, their defense took care of business, and J.J. McCarthy looked like a first-year starter in his second game, as you wanted to see, Jarvis, to end the J.J. McCarthy hype. And so the Falcons settling for 5, field goals in that game did not come back to bite them. and we obviously hope to see a similar defensive performance for this Falcon team against Bryce Young and the Panthers. But it would be nice to see this offense move the ball and then put the ball in the end zone. And curious, talking about the run game, let's talk about the passing game. Is this the sort of statement breakout game for this Falcons passing attack? As you sort of mentioned, is this the week where the play action passing game gets cooked up? And I want to get into all of that, guys, as we wrap up today's Locked On Falcons. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's your local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together, and when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Businesses like Kenny 18 Bottle Shop over in Kirkwood, if you're looking to revel in a Falcons win with a celebratory bottle, or you're looking to lament a Falcons loss, it may be the place to go. And Square is serving them and serving them as a proud partner for more than 4 million businesses across various neighborhoods all over the world. And you can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot, and you'll be happy that you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. So we talked about the defense. We've talked about the run game. Let's talk about the passing game, which has been fine, but hasn't been maybe to the level that we all thought it was capable of being. And again, that was a big part of, I think, the Vikings, which is like, we're not going to let you attack down the field. If you want to move the ball, you're going to have to run the football and all that stuff. And it worked for the Falcons. I'm curious, Jarvis, is this the week that we finally get to see Michael Penix in this passing game get loose? Or are you expecting similar results to what we've seen in these first two games?
For me, I'm looking at this linebacker core for the Panthers. I feel like that's something they can take advantage of, right? Like whether it be Drake London coming over the middle, across the middle, being able to work if they start, running to that zone, which Zero Vero it's known for, and I think this may sound crazy. Kyle Pitts has an opportunity, I feel, to get off in this game.
Uh-huh.
Because the way Zach Robinson was moving him around, we saw him line up outside as well, getting lined up one-on-one with the safeties. The safety looked like he didn't have a chance. Like I love that matchup. I love how aggressive Kyle has been. What played last week specifically, he just looked different, and I feel like this is one of those games. I'm not saying circle a game plan around him. I'm not trying to get disappointed, but I'm saying like there's going to be some matchups that he's going to have, whether it be on a linebacker or if they're moving him outside in that 12 personnel type situation, which Zach Robinson seems to be falling in love with. I know you bringing back bad memories with Arthur Smith and his fascination with that personnel grouping, but I feel like they are in a space where they feel comfortable allowing Kyle Pitts to block, so you don't become obvious when he's in that tight end and when Charlie Warner is in that tight end, so you can get a little creative. You can get into a strong guy situation if you want to, like an old school pistol type situation, you know what I'm saying? But I think this is the game where, Drake London, Kyle Pitts with that second level of that defense, I feel like that's a weakness for these guys, for the Panthers. And I think that they'll be able to take advantage of that. And if they're able to do that, yeah, I feel like this will be, like I said, I feel like this game can be one of those games where they can just break this bad boy open and then start having a party on defense.
Yes. I agree with you. I think not only Pitts and London, I think Bijan against this linebacker core can really give them problems.
Playing man against him.
Yeah. I noticed last year when the Falcons obviously Drake London had the monster game in that Week 18 game, just doing whatever he wanted in that game. But the other thing that stood out from that earlier game in the season was that they utilized Drake London a lot in the slot in that game, because that was the game that JC Horn actually played in. And it'll be interesting to see if they do something similar to basically say, okay, we'll move Drake to the slot because we know JC's probably not going to follow him into the slot. And so that will give us some advantageous matchups to attack that middle of that Panthers defense as well. So I feel like this is the game that this passing game should get going. This play action passing game should get going. We should see several of these guys. Again, all the boxes indicate that this is a advantageous matchup for the Atlanta Falcons. And I kind of want to see them, take advantage of this advantageous matchup, to prove the definition of the word. So like, it'll be a sort of statement type of performance where it's like, okay, like this Falcon team is different from previous Falcon teams where you go into some of these matchups being like, yeah, I don't know what version of the Falcons are going to show up, and having a version of the Falcons from a defensive standpoint, from a run game standpoint, from a passing game standpoint, that you can say, hey, when they're presented some of these matchups, they'll be able to take advantage of that. And I think that will be a big part for what I'm looking for on Sunday.
To your point, man, Lee, what did we hear leading up to that Vikings game? We will run the football. We have to run the football. And that's exactly what they went out and did. And then what do we hear from Jeff Olbrick going into that game? Yeah, we had some opportunities to take advantage that we didn't take advantage of. And that's what we're going to have to do. And that's what they did. Like, so that's why I have, I'm not saying I'm 100% confident that we're going to see what we saw against Minnesota carry over, but I'm pretty confident that they have the personnel to be able to back up what they say, right? Because in the past they haven't, especially on the defense side of the football. So for me, it's like if you're at a point where you calling out some matchups, because I remember plenty of times coming up on, come recording these shows last year, we were like, oh yeah, such and such is out. Oh yeah, such and such is out. Oh, they should be able to take advantage of that. Oh, they should be able to take advantage of it. And what happened? They didn't. Most of the time they did not do that. And, even if they did win the game. So I think that when you talk about what they're able to do from a personnel, just strictly from a personnel standpoint, throw out the scheme. Like they have guys that can take advantage of backups. And they have proven that in these last two games. So, and then you got some guys that can take away the ball as well. That's what we definitely haven't seen in I don't know how long, outside of Jesse, you know what I'm saying? He was on an island by himself doing that. So I think that, like you said, this is one of those opportunities for the Falcons to make a statement on both sides of the football. Both sides of football. This defense isn't good. This offense isn't that good. I'm not a believer in Bryce Young. A lot of people were in that last game of the season. So guess what? You can change the narrative again. You can say, hey, man, Carolina made a mistake bringing in Bryce Young, giving up all that for Bryce Young, even though Chicago hadn't been able to take advantage of it. But Carolina is in a bad space, and you want them to stay there. Don't give them any hope. Like, go in their house. It's not going to be that loud in there because, Carolina fans, they're a little shaky. It's a little quiet up there from time to time. Mm-hmm. So plenty of seats available. You know what I mean? Like we talked about that on the Falcon Squad show. So don't give them anything. The people that are going to be there, don't give them anything to root for. Like, change that narrative in the first quarter and say, oh, they're in for a long day. That's what you want those guys saying by the end of that first quarter, because teams like that, you don't let them just linger. You stomp on them and you put your foot on their neck and you continue to roll.
Yeah. The type of team that you're describing, Jarvis, is a what I would describe as a playoff team. So I hope we get to see a playoff caliber performance from this Falcon team come Sunday. So
Believe
we
it,
will
my
see.
brother.
We will see.
Positive Aaron, what is going on here, man?
It's so reluctant, Jarvis. It's just like, but I
haven't you haven't had a petty comment statement at all. You didn't even say James Lake. You know what I'm saying? You didn't even say his name, bro. Like this is progress, dog. Yeah, man. I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, for me, because usually my philosophy is like, you're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. So
sure.
You come off that week 1 loss. It's like, yeah, I think they'll play better against the Vikings. They play better against the Vikings. They look really good against the Vikings. And it's like, well, are you gonna fall back down to earth a little bit this week against Carolina? Or are you going to continue to raise the bar, so to speak, with that? Because they got some opponents coming up, Washington, Buffalo, San Francisco, etc. And so I kind of want to see, show me that, like, Carolina's down here and you're up here with those other teams that we're going to be talking about coming up in the next couple of weeks. And so I'm optimistic.
Aaron, you know what other playoffs teams do? What other playoffs teams do?
What's that, Jarvis?
They whoop the bad teams in their division.
Yes.
They whoop them. They take care of them.
Yeah. And it's funny because we were doing the NFC South preview and I was doing other shows where people were talking about, it's the Bucs division and the Falcons are probably the biggest challengers to the Bucs, but I actually think Carolina is probably closer to Atlanta than Atlanta is to Tampa Bay. And I want to see the Falcons be like, nah, Carolina's not close to us.
Yeah, and I think that it's possible, right? Because we talk about personnel. Like, you have the personnel to do it. Like, your roster is better than Carolina's. Just looking at the roster. Like, now then you add coaching, scheme, different familiarity. Yeah, all that stuff matters, right? So yeah, for me, it's the big taking advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you, because they did that on Sunday night in front of everybody. Like, man, I'm telling you, man, like, if you want to get that hype train rolling, let Bijan go out there and go for 200 or 150, and then you have Tyler Algier go for another 75 or 65 yards. Let that happen. I promise you're gonna start seeing some conversations start to change, some narratives start to change, and that defense continues to hum. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun. Like, it just starts with taking care of the guys in your backyard. Like, gotta take care of the division first, man, because that's what matters.
Yep, I agree. So we will see if the Falcons take care of business. We'll be back on Sunday to give you guys our recap and reaction to whatever happens at Sunday at 1:00 here on Locked On Falcons and, of course, Locked On Sports Atlanta, with a full hour-long post game immediately after that final whistle, and then, of course, the 30-minute rapid reaction where I myself go solo on Locked On Falcons thereafter. But check out myself, Jarvis Davis, Tenitra Batiste on Locked On Sports Atlanta. So
I'll be rocking the do-rag, free.
Yeah, are we gonna coordinate this weekend, Jarvis?
Yeah, man. Just let me know what color you want to rock, bro.
Okay,
I'll go snatch it up.
Yeah, we'll go settle it offline.
Yeah.
So
we'll let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
See how positive I have you?
Yeah,
you in happy spirits, bro. Like, hey, follow me, dog. Follow your boy. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna put you like Charlie Warner as a fullback. Yeah, I got you. Lead me through that.
I'm leading you through the path, my brother.
Yeah.
To the light. To the light.
So there you go, guys. Check us out. See what do-rags we got rocking on Sunday evening, afternoon, here on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, to get you geared up for the rest of this weekend's action, Locked On NFL, 2 shows daily. Tyler Rowland, Tony Wiggins, going to guide you through this week 3 action. It is all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.